Tony Daunt is on our AT&T line right now, the executive director of the Michigan Freedom Fund and our neighbor here in the downtown Capital District. Welcome to the program.
Good morning, Michael Patrick.
The Line 5 pipeline under the Straits of Mackinac, we have talked about the Attorney General and the Governor and their apparent disdain for this pipeline, which Enbridge has offered $500 million to build a tunnel to safely encase it 100 feet below the surface after, by the way, operating safely for over 60 years where it is right now, providing heat and energy to the folks in the Upper Peninsula and places like Detroit Airport. It's a vital pipeline. And so they've been talking about doing away with it. And so the question then was, if you do away with that, how is all that energy going to get moved around? And I noticed in your Front Lines of Freedom publication, your weekly update, you gave us some stats.
Yeah, it's very true that it's a vital bit of infrastructure that keeps the people in the UP. It keeps their lights on. It keeps them warm. It provides energy to people throughout the state of Michigan, not just the UP, but certainly they're the most affected by this. And I actually happened to be up in Mackinac, took my daughter and niece this weekend to the island and drove around the UP a bit. And there were, it's surprising the number of signs in businesses and homes that indicate they support the tunnel. And I think that's an important thing that Governor Whitmer and Attorney General Nessel are either ignorant to or simply ignoring, that this is supported by the people up there. And just because there's a small vocal activist base that supports them doesn't mean that this is the right thing to do. And some of the stats that we showed is that, you're looking at hundreds, if not thousands, of additional trucks on the day or on the roads each day to transport this fuel. And that's additional trucks banging up the roads. It's additional trucks adding to congestion in traffic. And as you mentioned, this pipeline has operated safely for 60 years, and it's unfortunate that this type of emotional overreaction by activist base can have such an impact on the elected leaders of our state, because we should look at things scientifically, and we should look at things based on their history of how they have operated. And if you look at it that way, this pipeline is the safest and smartest and most efficient way to take care of the energy needs of the people of Michigan.
You mentioned in Front Lines of Freedom, which you can get delivered to you at MichiganFreedomFund.com at no charge every week. It would put 2,150 tanker trucks a day on state roads. And even if you went by train, that's 800 tanker cars by rail. That's more than we have now added to reach the locations. Of course, then they'd have to be transferred onto trucks. And all of those methods seem riskier than the pipeline.
Oh, absolutely. And, there's risk inherent in everything that we do as humans. And that's a fact of life. And obviously we want to mitigate those risks. But we have people that need lights. We have people that need heat. We have people that need all of these things to have a quality of life that we're all used to. And I think it's really arrogant to think that just because you've got a activist base who doesn't like the idea of a pipeline, who thinks that the risks are just too much to bear, that we can just throw those people up in the UP, we can just throw them under the bridge, or throw them off the bridge, and let's not worry about them. Maybe are they thinking that because those people don't support them, that they're not worth having the energy needs taken care of, or are they just?
I hadn't heard that argument before. You're saying that the UP voters are Republicans or tend to vote Republican, and so they're being punished.
Well, I think if you look at some of the things that this governor has done since he's been in office, it's not an unfair assumption, whether that be the delay in building the psychiatric facility over there in Cairo in the Thumb, denying some of the emergency declaration requests for some of the more rural areas, Shiels County for a tornado and some other areas. I think we should look at those possibilities. And it's unfortunate that we have to think like that, but you look at the actions of these elected officials, and it doesn't become so far-fetched.
Let me ask you another question here. I see this morning in the news the governor has created a task force to study the propane delivery alternatives for the UP. Are they going to learn anything other than we already know?
I think it's just to me, this is an action that you take when you realize that you have maybe stepped in it a little bit, and you realize, I've got an activist base that is upset about this pipeline, but I understand, deep down, she probably understands this is the right way to go, and this is something that's necessary.
It seems like it, because the only thing she's quibbling about is the timeline.
She does seem to have maybe, gradually backed away from some of the more radical statements, but certainly Attorney General Nessel, she's not backing away from anything radical. She's going to find the most extreme position, stake it out, and stay there. And hopefully, if this ends up in the courts, the courts will adjudicate this and make sure that the people of the Upper Peninsula and throughout the state have the energy needs have their needs met, whether that be the fuel for their homes or powering the various businesses up there. It is not a simple issue to solve, and it's unfortunate that we've got people who are elected leaders pretending as if it is.
A couple other quick questions for you in the next 2 minutes. One is that if you put together a task force to quote-unquote study delivery alternatives for that energy instead of the Line 5 pipeline, call me naive, but are there situations where you can put together a task force and say to them, okay, I want you to find this result for me?
Oh, unfortunately, I guess government could do whatever it wants if it put enough people on a board and told them to come up with a result.
It's like an expert witness, right? I mean, you know what they're going to say before they even say it.
Right, but I don't know if that's necessarily the best way to do things. You want people who are familiar with industry, and you want people who are going to give you an honest assessment. And I think what you've seen with this pipeline is all of the scientific research, the people who have studied this have said repeatedly, this is the most effective, efficient, safe way to move fuel. And why we need another silly task force through government to find this out is it's just political gamesmanship and protecting your hide.
Let me ask you one other question now. Brant Iden, the state rep from the Kalamazoo area, Ashtamo Township, he's in support of internet gaming and sports betting, and he's been waiting for the governor's opinion on it. She came back and said she can do it if he puts 40% levy for taxes on internet bets, 15% on sports betting, and apparently Iden just laughed.
As you can tell by my reaction, that was probably a very fair reaction. Again, the left, if it moves, the left wants to tax it. And, rather than find a solution that can help bring this issue into the 21st century here in Michigan, Governor Whitmer, like she does with everything else, just wants to find a way to extract money from it so that it can be wasted by government programs. And, that's unfortunate.
Frontlines for Freedom you can get by subscribing at no cost where?
At our website, MichiganFreedomFund.com. Go there. There's a link to sign up, and you'll begin receiving it this week if you sign up today.